Sunshine.
Regular assembly meeting, I'll call the roll, or I'll call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thomas,
Here.
Chelsea,
Here.
Bob,
Excused?
Jeff,
Here.
David,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
Mark,
Here. Okay, it's now time for the voluntary pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on through the agenda, we have no minutes from prior meetings for approval. That brings us to item 4, amendment and approval of tonight's meeting agenda. Are there any proposed amendments? Member Kinsinger.
Yes, under assembly discussion, I'd like to do a report from the PAPKE's doc presentation. That was the harbor board meeting.
Okay, so we'll add that under discussion items. Remind me, Clerk Thompson, if I forget, or if there are no other amendments, I'd entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda for this evening as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on. Item 5, public hearings. We have a public hearing this evening for ordinance 2022-04. This is an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2022 budget for known changes. This ordinance, if adopted, will approve fund transfer to provide for 1, the electric department 399 cat in-frame overhaul. 2, purchase of a new flatbed plow truck for the harbor department. 3, acceptance of the $1,430,892 DCRA local government lost revenue grant. And 4, unexpected rooftop snow removal and electric expenses for the Parks and Recreation Department. That's what is involved in this public hearing. I don't see anybody in the audience, but I'll ask if there's anybody that wants to speak to this public hearing. Do we have anybody on the line, Clerk Thompson?
there's no one on the line.
Okay, public hearing is now closed. No bid awards. Item 7, persons to be heard related to the agenda. I see no one in the audience, and like Clerk Thompson said, there's no one online, so we'll move to item 8. Persons to be heard on items unrelated to tonight's agenda. And once again, there's no one on the line and no one in the audience, so we won't have any input for that. 9, board, commission, committee reports. There are none. 10, nothing on the consent agenda. Scheduled for a report of other officers from Petersburg Medical Center CEO Hofstetter. I don't see Mr. Hofstetter here. So if he comes in a little bit late, I guess we'll just add it at that time if everybody's in agreement with that. Mayor's report, fairly short. I've been gone for about a month. It's nice to be home. Petersburg Borough is accepting letters of interest from citizens who wish to serve the community by filling one of the vacant seats on the following borough boards commissions until October 2022 municipal election. Planning Commission, there's still 2 vacant seats. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, there's 2 vacant seats. Also, we're seeking letters of interest for a short-term early childhood education task force. Residents from the following groups are needed: child care educators, Petersburg Borough, Petersburg School District, the Medical Center, Economic Development Council, Chamber of Commerce, Share Coalition, Petersburg Borough Assembly, retail employees, and the public at large. The Assembly will appoint up to 15 members to this task force at the May 16, 2022 Assembly meeting. All letters of interest should be submitted to Clerk Thompson at the Borough office located at 12 South Nordic Drive, or by sending to Box 329, Petersburg, Alaska, 99833, or by emailing to dthompson@petersburgak.gov. And that completes the mayor's report. And Manager Giesbrecht, you don't have a written report, but you have.
I was traveling, but I can attempt to answer any questions the assembly may have.
Okay, are there any questions of the manager on anything? Okay, moving along. That brings us to unfinished business. Ordinance 2022-04, an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2022 budget for known changes. This is 3rd and final reading, and I gave a brief explanation of what that is during the public hearing. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its 3rd and final reading.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Member Stanton Gregor, seconded by Member Mucci. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
David,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chelsea. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, ordinance 2022-04 passes unanimously in its 3rd and final reading. That brings us to item 15, new business. Ordinance 2022-05, an ordinance updating chapter 14.04.420 of the Municipal Code entitled Water Rate Schedule and Fees. This is the first reading. If adopted, ordinance 2022-05 will increase water utility rates which have not been updated since 2018, and increases are needed to keep up with the increased costs and expenses to the borough. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion by Member Mucci, I believe, seconded by Member Tremblay. Any discussion? Member Stanton Gregor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'll be voting for this tonight in its first reading. This is something that Utility Director Hagerman has been researching and planning for some time, as it says in the reading, to keep up with increased costs and expenses to the borough, while also, of course, trying to maintain affordable utilities for the citizens. For those listening at home, obviously the public hearing is in 2 weeks, and if members of the community have feedback about it, that would be a great time to hear it. Thanks.
Member Tremblay.
Thank you. We have a note here that there's a change that needs to be made and we don't have the exact language for it. So if it's okay, is this the right, this is one we need to change? Director Hagerman?
It's actually in the wastewater. ordinance.
Wastewater. Okay, pardon me. Then thank you very much. And I'll be on it for that one.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Chelsea,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Jay, Thomas, Mark,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We will thank you, Mr. Hofstetter, and if we will let you take the podium.
Fortunately, I had the radio on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just came from work, so I appreciate it. Just a couple of updates. We had the search and the PMC board meeting last month, and we would like to have, it's sort of a good segue into the work session with the borough. So I'd like to make sure that we come up with some dates for the assembly and the PMC board work session, and we can have some further discussion on that point, as well as the Murkowski funding and some of the next steps there. So those are kind of the highlights for me. COVID situation, we are seeing some increased cases for sure. And so it's just something to be vigilant of. A lot of folks are using the home tests, so we're not able to count them on the dashboard. And it's so that dashboard number is not always very reflective of what's going on in the community. So we're just monitoring that situation currently. Those are kind of main highlights at this point. We're certainly looking forward to the date for the work session, and our board meeting is next week, and we'll have more discussion.
Okay, thank you for racing down and giving us a report. Are there any questions for Mr. Hofstadter this evening? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hofstadter.
You're welcome. All right, thanks.
Okay, back on to new business. We're on item B, ordinance 2022-06. This is an ordinance updating various sections of chapter 14.08 of the municipal code entitled sewer utility. This is the first reading. If adopted, this ordinance will increase sewer utility rates, which have not been updated since 2018, and increases are needed to keep up with increased costs and expenses to the borough. And since the agenda was drafted, there is a few things that the presenter of this ordinance, or the language for it, Mr. Hagerman, the utility director, sees some changes needed. So maybe it'd be better if you just explain what changes you need, Mr. Hagerman, and we could come up with some form of an amendment to this. But did entertain a motion to put this on the floor.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by a couple different people. So anyway, we're on the floor.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hagerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and apologies for a couple of errors that I made in getting this in front of you. The first change that I'll talk about is in the wastewater rate schedule. We call out the size of water meter. Every service is based on the size of your water meter. And in the water code, the smallest water meter is 3/4 inch. We call that out. And in the sewer code, we have it listed as 5/8 inch. It's kind of an industry nomenclature issue, but to keep things consistent between the two codes and make sure there isn't any confusion between the water code and the wastewater code, if somebody could make an amendment to change any references to 5/8 inch water meter to a 3/4 inch water meter in the rate schedule, that would be great. Appreciate that. And the second change is an issue, a couple problems that I had when I was filling out, making the changes, the edits to the rate schedule. I was working off a draft of the rate study, and one of the drafts did have a 5-year schedule of increases in the wastewater utility. And I had started to fill out that 5th year, which would have been FY27. And as luck would have it, I got sidetracked. Somebody came to the office and I got pulled away. And when I came back to it, I started looking at it and thought, well, the water increase is a 4-year increase, 3%. And so we should stay consistent between the two utilities. But I didn't circle back and eliminate my changes to the FY27 column in the rate schedule. And so the ordinance as presented to you has some increases in some of the service levels for FY27, and those should not be there. So if somebody could make an amendment, the effect that any increases shown in FY27 should be deleted, that would also serve the purpose.
So, Member Stanton Gregor.
Actually, Tremblay was that. You can go ahead.
Oh, Member Tremblay.
Thank you. I'd like to make an amendment to this so that any reference to 5/8 inch is instead 3/4 inch. And also that any increases shown in fiscal year 27 should be deleted to be the same as 26.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Amendment's been made and change the size of the water meter or line from 5/8 to 3/4 and to delete all of the schedule for 2017, 27 rather. That was, yeah, getting up there. So, Member Mucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So does this amendment cover the fiscal year 26, the 2006.97 figure on page 3? One that's highlighted there, $2,006.97.
Excuse me, through the mayor, in the ordinance presented in the packet, under 6-inch sewer, the number is 2466.73.
Yep. And he's changing it back to leaving it at $2,006.97. Correct?
Oh,
That's what it looks like here.
so let's be clear. So in the agenda packet, the number is correct. Under 6-inch sewer for FY 26, the rate will be $2,466.73.
Why is it highlighted on here, Carl?
I think that was a leftover from the attorney review.
Okay. So 6-inch sewer stays as published in packet.
So is your question answered, Mr. Mucci? This update that we have in front of us this evening, the numbers aren't correct and what's in the packet is correct?
One number in 6-inch sewer was incorrect in what you have in front of you.
Yes.
In this. So, and we're not amending that anyway. We're voting on what's in the packet this evening, correct?
That is
Okay,
correct.
So, all right. So are we all clear on those issues? If so, is there any more discussion on ordinance 2022-06 on the amendment? Member Tremblay.
Could you clarify the services that are being codified that we had been providing, like the pump out offerings and things like that? Were those were not in code, but we're just doing them? Am I clear in believing that?
That is correct. Any services that the borough provides and charges for should be codified as far as those charges are concerned. And that it's just something that we began a long time ago, and for whatever reason, we just never put it in the code, and now it is.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Are there any other discussions on the amendment? Clerk, call the roll.
Mark,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Jay, Thomas.
Okay, back to the ordinance as amended. Is there any discussion on the amended motion? Clerk, call the roll.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Jeff, David,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, brings us to a memo from Utility Director Hagerman.
What?
It says here, item C, memo from Utility Director Hagerman.
Sure does. Let's see I have a feeling that it all has to do with the resolution, but let me look.
Clerk Thompson, perhaps Director Hagerman could explain.
Oh, there you go.
Mr. Hagerman, you're the
Mr.
one that's
Mayor.
supposed to have the memo. Could you please
The
move forward as on the agenda?
right, the memo is in support of the ordinances that were just passed. Just explains some of the points of that. And additionally, item D under new business, utility rates, the final report is just in support of the ordinances that were just passed. So those documents were supporting documents to the ordinances, not separate action items.
Okay, so what I'm guessing is you don't really have to give the memo and it's on the agenda if people are interested. Would the assembly like Mr. Hagerman to read his memo? We already voted on the ordinance.
No, I felt comfortable reading it, and I'm sure it'll be tied into the second reading as part of the ordinance next time for members of the public, so I'm very
During-
comfortable.
Before the, yeah, maybe report of other officers before the public hearing or whoever, so, you know, give a brief explanation. Okay, so we will have that on the next meeting agenda. Utility rate study final report, and this is just the rate study, correct, Mr. Hagerman?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
And that's where we came up with the changes for the ordinance that we just passed in the first reading. Okay. So is everybody good with moving on? Okay, E, resolution 2022-07, a resolution approving the sole source procurement for Eaton AMI large commercial meters. If approved, this resolution will authorize the sole source issuance of a purchase order with Eaton Corporation doing business as Canon Technologies for the order of large commercial AMI meters at the price of $32,416.20. Entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by member Mucci, seconded by member Stanton Gregory. Any discussion? Got one question. I guess these meters, are they for business, big, large businesses, or is this more harbor meters, or what, where are they going to be used?
Mr. Mayor, good question. So these meters are large commercial meters. They're three-phase meters and will be going into our large commercial customers in the borough, not necessarily related to the harbor at all. The harbor is mentioned in the resolution only as a lead up to how we got started in the AMI process.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Member Mucci, I thought I
No,
saw
that was
you.
all, that's what I was curious about.
If there's no other questions, I'll call for the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
sorry. Chelsea,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Thomas. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Item F on our agenda this evening, under new business, is schedule a fiscal year 2023 budget work session. Staff suggests these dates, 27th, 8th, or 29th of April. Also, before the meeting, we had the clerk and I were talking, or there was a discussion in the room, and this could actually be a presentation that Jody gives before the next agenda. Does that work for you, or would you?
Same day,
Yeah,
yeah.
schedule it, you know, an hour before, or does that work for people, or how long do you think it'll take? Depends on how many questions.
Exactly. How long do you want it to take? I'm working on my slides. Probably an hour. Yeah, I could make sure it was just an hour.
Okay, what's the wish of the assembly? Next assembly meeting is a noon meeting. So I don't know if people are free at 11. That will be on May 2nd. Member Mucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have, thank you, do we have that public hearing for that property sale before that meeting?
The
The
outcry auction.
Public hearing?
Well, the outcry auction.
That's a separate thing, isn't it?
When was that scheduled? I'm just curious.
I should know the answer to this question, but I just got back from vacation. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
I believe it's the second meeting. Is that right?
I
You know
don't
what? If you guys want me to go look, I can go look. real
Let's
quick.
take a brief break.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Good idea. We were not double dipping on stuff.
Second meeting is May 16th.
I'm gonna go ahead and,
We ready, Clerk Thompson?
Yes, thank you
we're
for
back in
that
session.
break. Member Mucci, thank you. It is May 2nd. The auction is May 2nd at the very beginning of our noon assembly meeting. So I don't know if,
So that wouldn't interfere with,
I would say though, we'll need a few minutes prior to the meeting starting in between if you do Jody's thing, just because people are going to come in and want to fill out agreements to bid and things like that. So I'll need a little time in between.
okay,
About,
go ahead, Member Tremblay.
what about 10:30 and then scheduling a half-hour break, both for ourselves and for you to get situated? Is that scheduling wise possible for people?
Does that work for everybody? I mean, that makes it a pretty long 10:30 till 2, I guess, it'd be 2 hours for the meeting. Just my thought, what's everybody else's feelings?
Or you could schedule on one of the April dates that were suggested.
We have two things in play here, just thinking out loud, like, so we still want to do a work session on 28, 27, 28, or 29, or do we want to do Jody's presentation before we do a work session? Just to clarify a little bit.
We're talking about the same thing, right?
Through the mayor. Yeah, what we're talking about is the presentation. And if the assembly wants to have further discussions about the budget, we can schedule those. But the hope is you'll have questions during her presentation, and get
Gotcha.
them answered, and we don't have to go have another work session.
And also, we've all got a copy of the budget given to us this evening, so if we have questions of Jody, if we go through it, we could go to and talk to her in the office.
This is true.
Jody?
Yes, and I could also do the work session after the first reading of the budget. It's not, critical I do it before. It's just, it's nice to have it, for that first reading, but, changes can be made after the first reading in the second or third, so it's up to you. I don't want it any sooner, please, than the 27th of April.
Okay, so,
Speaking for myself, I'll let the assembly decide when they want to have it, and based on my work world, I either will or will not make the presentation. And I will be sure to get my reading in beforehand regardless, so I'll let the assembly decide where they want to go with it.
I could also do it by Zoom. That's what I've been doing the last 2 years, and just putting the presentation up on the screen. And that worked very well too.
okay, so we've just, got a couple things, like Member Stanton Gregor said, we're talking about, presentation by Jody on the first meeting in May, which is the 2nd. And then if, after that, would that work after that date, Jody, is that getting for a work session if the assembly decides we need one? And we're also gonna have the outcry auction an hour before the meeting on the 2nd, right?
Beginning of the meeting
Beginning
at
of the meeting
noon.
at noon. Oh,
Mhm.
okay, well, 10:30. Okay, so does 10:30 work on the 2nd? So we'll go with, all those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we'll do the live auction, start of the meeting. Okay, so I think we have that approved. That moves us to communications. And we have correspondence received since March 31st on the printed out on our packet today. We don't read those. And so person could look on the agenda of the Borough website to find those. Item 17, assembly discussion items. We added an item, but we'll go with what's on here first. Community Cleanup Week. Member Mucci requested this discussion item. Member Mucci.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Since I put this on the agenda, I've been in contact with Director Cotta about the Free Dump Week and understand the workings of it, and understand it's not a free thing. So unless somebody has some real heartburn and wants to do it this year, I'm not going to pursue it any farther. I have a couple ideas for possibly next year. But I understand it costs $20,000 to $30,000 out of the Public Works Department, or Sanitation Department. So I'll look at it a different way over the winter. So thank you for your time.
Okay, any other input? Member Stanton.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just briefly, I think right now we do a really good job having the hazardous waste drop-off day to get the most, critical things out of our community. We already have that as a free drop off, and the residential cleanup voucher program is a wonderful program for anyone listening who has not participated and bought. The voucher system is a really good value for dropping off all number of things. You don't have to pay on the spot. It can be added to your utility bill and a great way to help keep our community clean. So I feel great as it is, but I really hope people look into that program because it's wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you. Seconding the voucher program, somehow I've never gotten it, even though one of our favorite projects is getting rid of stuff up at the dump. So I'm excited to finally get it myself. But also, I just wanted to encourage people to maybe just work in their own neighborhoods and pick a day to clean up some garbage. You know, it can be just 20 minutes and use a garden glove or whatever and just go see what you can find. You know, the bears, the birds, people, you find all kinds of treasures out there, and a little bit can go a long way. So I'd suggest, you know, May Day it's a Sunday, May 1st, could be a really nice day to organize something just in your own community neighborhood and just see what you can find and make it a little bit better, and we'll all benefit. So.
Okay, any more input on the community cleanup week discussion? Okay, that brings us to the added item to the agenda, and Member Kinsinger is going to talk about the Papke's facility.
Yes, Assembly Member Mucci and I attended Harbor Board meeting where they presented a presentation from Alan Murph on Papke's Landing, or proposal that he had worked up. And the main thing I just want to bring to the Assembly's attention was what we need to do right now is we need to get input from as many people as possible in the community. They can take a look at the proposal and if they have any comments on it. So I don't know whether we would, if it's in the interest where the Assembly would like us, whether we should schedule a presentation, or how you want to proceed with this.
Member Mucci.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like Member Kensinger said, I was there as the harbor liaison to the Assembly. I was waiting for the harbor's minutes, and I think the minutes are going to reflect that they are looking for direction, or they like direction from the Assembly to get like Dave said, the conceptual drawings out to the community. And I think maybe as an agenda item for the next meeting, we can chat about it and figure out how we want to get that out to the public. But yeah, they're through looking at the conceptual drawing, and they've kicked it up to the Assembly, but I was going to report on it at the next meeting once we get the minutes from the board meeting, unless Manager Giesberg had something to add as well.
I've got a little, so the information that Mr. Murph gave us, his engineering firm, is that on the website? We've got an
Yes,
email.
yes, sir. It was put on the website today.
So it's there. That's one avenue for people, people from the public to look at it and see what the proposed cost and the design and so forth, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion on the Papke's project? I've got one question. Did the Harbor Board vote in favor of it? Or the plan, or how'd the vote go? Or was there a vote?
I think, and some member Mucci is correct. It'd be nice to see how the minutes get put together for the meeting. But I think basically they accepted the project from the standpoint of they've now reviewed it and are encouraging the public to make comments. So we'll see how it looks in the minutes. But there was not an official vote to proceed other than just moving through the process of getting public's information out there.
So at this point, the Harbor Board hasn't had a vote of support or non-support.
Yeah. I think they was closer to supporting, but I don't think it was a formal vote in that sense.
Member Mucci.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, like Steve said, they've looked at it and they want the Assembly to look at it and then kick it out to the public to look it over. There was some discussion about phasing in the project, about maybe not doing parts of the project. There's some issues in play regarding the U.S. Forest Services log transfer facility down there within DNR. And there's a lot of things in play that the harbor board wasn't quite sure how it was going to play out, and they just wanted to kind of say, yeah, we accept these conceptual drawings, and they wanted to kick it to the assembly, so that the assembly can make sure that it was posted out for the public to look at, to see if people were liked it, and if they, but that's where they were. They didn't vote in favor of one concept or other. They were through looking at it, and they wanted to give it to us.
So I guess if someone wants to put it on an agenda, then that
Yes.
would be up to the assembly without any support
So
from the.
I'm just confused. It needs approval by the assembly? Is that what they're looking, I mean, why? If we have it on the borough website, what is it that the assembly needs to do with it? I'm just wondering where I would put it on an agenda. Is it a discussion item? It's
Um,
nothing you need to vote on, right? Or am I wrong?
In the future, through the mayor, eventually it would take the assembly approving the design. I don't think we're anywhere near there at that point. I think it's at the information gathering, this is my perspective, information gathering phase for the public to give comments on it and review it. The assembly can decide if they want other events related to that, or just the website's good enough. At this point, we have no time frame. There's a ton of work related to other agencies that have to be done before the project could actually go forward, let alone funding for it. But at this point, it's just, it exists, take a look at it, provide comments, and at some point off in the future, it has to come back to the assembly to approve the design and authorize moving forward. So we're not there yet.
So maybe, Member Steinberg,
Go ahead, you're about to say something.
maybe
Thank
at
you.
this point, it'd be better just to try to inform the public that the information is available on their website. I don't know, do you put a little blurb in the paper or put it on KFSK, or just to try to, reach out to the public to let them know that it's there for viewing? Just a suggestion. Member Steinberg.
Yeah, I was gonna echo that. The way I take that is, there has been no formal recommendation from the board, whether we would take that or not is irrelevant. At this point, no, it's a we had received no formal direction from the harbor board. So like you said, Clerk Thompson, like anything from planning and zoning or harbor board would, public information, put it on the website is the way I take it, for whatever that's worth. And then hopefully we
Okay.
receive some comments.
Yeah, hopefully. Member Hensinger.
Yes, the main thing that, that Alan wanted to know was, he wanted people to take a look at it, see if they had any ideas. He was just presenting this as a concept. And so people need to take a look at it, particularly people that use it a lot, and see what they think. And if they have some suggestions or some things they don't like, then they correspond either through the assembly or through Alan. He said at the meeting that he had one major change in, so he wanted us to get all of our comments in so that he could just make one change and not have to be changing it on a continual basis.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just see how it moves forward from here, and we'll see if the public gets made aware that the information is out there and the conceptual design.
So
Clerk Thompson,
if it's
yeah.
okay with the assembly, then I will go ahead and put something in the newspaper, and I'll do a PSA on KFSK, basically just letting the public know that it is on the borough website and that they please check it out and provide comment to the assembly via email or whatever. Does that work? Do I need to, a deadline on comments, or just throw it out there?
Sounds like this might be an ongoing thing for a while.
Okay,
I don't think
sounds
it's-
good.
yeah, so that's my feeling. Okay, we're done with that discussion item. Assembly member comments. Any comments this evening? Member Mucci.
I have a couple. I know we all got it, but I wanted to make sure that the community knew that the Anacapa is having a kind of a going away, I think, celebration on Friday at 10 o'clock, open to the public. I think the assembly and department heads might be going earlier, but I just wanted to make sure that was known. Wave's 40th anniversary is coming up, I think, this Saturday up at the museum from 5:30 to 7:30. And if you're interested in speaking to the Senate Bill 180 regarding not the Ocean Ranger program, but we voted on a resolution against 180, and that's coming up on Wednesday, April 20th at 3:30 in the afternoon. So, thank you.
Okay, any other comments by assembly members? Okay, recognitions. Anybody have any recognitions? Members, Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank all of the wonderful volunteers who spent time beautifying and cleaning Sandy Beach as part of the spring cleanup. I was out there this weekend and it is lovely, and I am well aware, having been out there this winter when it's not so lovely, how much work went into that. So just a huge thank you to the volunteers that made one of our coolest places in Petersburg immaculate again. It's much appreciated.
Okay, any of the staff have recognitions this evening? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Mayor, this is Sandy Dixon.
Oh, hi, Sandy. see
I
your
had my hand up.
there.
Good job, Sandy.
I would like to recognize Justin Haley and Dennis Jones. They came to the fire department and worked on our roll-up doors that were in much need of repair. And thank you to Director Hagerman for allowing them to assist our department. So thanks to those guys.
Yeah, I hope the doors are working good. They need to open. Okay, any other recognitions? I guess not. That's right. I entertain a motion to adjourn. There was a motion in the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.